Automatic climate control servos. The truth. Being in the Mercedes repair business, we work on a lot of Mercedes that were made from roughly 1976 to 1981. And a lot of those cars, with the exception of the lower line W123 series, at some point in their production history, used one of these and one of these. This is an automatic climate control servo. It regulates the heating and cooling temperatures of the 1976 to 80 116, the 1978 to 81 107, the 1977 to 80 123, and I think that's all. But this part has developed a fearsome reputation for seizing and cracking. Now, the truth about this automatic climate control servo is that it's not actually a real bad item. This one is starting to crack here, as you can see, which is one of the reasons that I replaced it. But there's more to these guys than just a bad reputation. First of all, they're incredibly simple to diagnose and repair. When it's working right, the servo will make a noise. It'll almost make a kind of noise when it's parking, going into the full hot or full cold position when you shut the car down. And if the servo isn't doing that, there are three things that are going on. It's either stuck, or the amplifier, which takes the signals from the climate control unit and sends them to the servo, is bad, or there's no power to the servo. The servo does have a fuse. On the 107, it's located just above the fuse box in an auxiliary fuse strip. On the 116, it's in the fuse box, and in the 123, it's in the relay box, where the fan relay and the starter relay are underneath the hood. So the first thing we're going to discuss is how to diagnose your servo. Well, like I said, if your servo doesn't move, then it may be stuck. But the first thing you need to do is pull the plug, and on the second, I think it's on the second grid, but I can't remember, so don't take my word for it. You're going to look for power supply. You're going to look for 12 volts. If you're getting 12 volts, then everything is good. If not, check the fuse. The next thing is that if the servo is not getting a signal, you need to check the amplifier. Now, the way to check the amplifier is pretty simple. You remove it, and it's almost always behind the glove box on all of these cars. You pull the back plate off, and the first thing you do is inspect this solder joint for a burned area. This area right here appears to be burned. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the grid apart, and you can actually take the whole grid out and inspect the back side of it for any failure points. So this little guy right here, I actually don't know what this is, but it's got 3 legs. Maybe one of you could tell me. It looks like it burned up. Now, if you start seeing a bunch of burn marks on your servo unit, on your amplifier, it may be a sign that your servo's going bad. What do you do if you need a servo? Well, the first thing you could do is you can call Mercedes, because they still have stock. And they actually made a bunch of them a few years ago. The servo is currently available in Germany for all of the models. But the really neat trick is that the one for an SL, a 107 SL, is like $2,200. And the one for a 123, which is a slightly different part number, is something like $750, and they're both pretty much interchangeable. So I know $750 sounds like a lot of money, but hey, you could still get the part, which is kind of cool. Now, there's some discussion about rebuilt servos. There is a company in Mexico that was building ones with aluminum bodies, and then there were the ones from Performance Analysis in Tennessee, which my friend George Murphy builds. Unfortunately, George, I hope you're watching. I haven't had great luck with your servos. Sorry, your other products are great, but your servos not so good. As a matter of fact, if you get one of the aluminum bodied servos, chances are it's probably not going to work that well, because once you go in here, there are a bunch of little vacuum lines. The good news is that it's actually possible to repair one of these, because the number one problem with these guys are stuck motors from coolant penetration, and the number two problem are vacuum lines that just don't fit very well. So if you take these silicone plugs out and pull this cover off, you will actually find a bunch of vacuum lines that are attached to a little wheel that spins round and round. And if your vacuum hoses are worn out or the connections are pulled off, you're going to have to fix them. And you may have to get new vacuum line. You know, that's not a big deal. It actually takes American-sized vacuum hose, which is like, you know, 1/16 of an inch diameter, or even smaller than that maybe. It doesn't take German-sized vacuum hose in here, because this was an American design that the Chrysler Corporation designed, but then Mercedes perfected. The other thing is, if you take this off, there are 4 screws below it that you can take off. And down in the bottom here, where the hot water valve is the motor that controls the servo, which was made by Sankyo. You can actually take the motor out and replace it maybe with one from Radio Shack, or even free up the original. And it does occasionally work, and I've done this before and had good results. However, if you see that the amplifier's burned up, you need to replace that motor at the least. So now that we've explained the climate control servo and how it works, we will look at the servo replacement. Unwired Tools manufactured these. They're located in Texas, and they used a bunch of Mercedes parts and a really nice hot water valve. They are okay too if you feel like re-engineering the entire design of your servo system, which I have done before also at the request of some of my customers, and it works great too. Anyway, for more questions on how your climate control works, drop us a line. I know sometimes it takes me a while to get back to you guys, but I'm always happy to help. And in the meantime, don't run away and panic. This system is actually pretty reliable. These things last for 20 years or so, 15 to 20 years, and they're really not that bad. Cheers. And don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to hit the bell for notifications. And don't forget to share this with all of your friends who like Mercedes as well.